ManCave, and this is Bob from Bob's N-Scale ManCave, and today we're going to show you how to fix your Broadway Limited AC6000 for the light bleed problem that I was running into. As you probably have watched my previous video, and I'll put a link to it right here, I had a little light bleed coming out of the front and some off on the side down here on the back and underneath here when it was in reverse. So I'm going to show you how to take off the back and the cab and do a little customizing of the interior. So let's take a look.
Okay, we have some light bleed problems with this engine. Right up in the front here by the handrail under the number board, there was a dot, and there was some light bleed right under in this area here on the rear and on the other side as well. So first of all, we're going to take off the back cap for the radiator and the cab. And as you can see from the illustrated parts breakdown, the cab is removable, and so is the radiator piece right there. So in the radiator, we just pull back on this a little bit, and it's wedged in there pretty good, so be careful not to snap it too much, and it kind of comes off kind of abruptly. But as you can see on the inside, you have some light block tape put in already in electronics for the lights and the decoder. And as you can see, there's a lot of yellow where the tape is not covering up, and that's where the light bleed's coming through. We got to fix that. On the cab, this is how you take it off. You got to remove the handrails off the top on both sides, and the handrails attached to the cab just by sliding a screwdriver underneath it and popping them out. Just like that. They might be wedged in there a little bit. You may have to work it out a little bit, maybe with tweezers, but they do come out. And there's a little bit of a gap underneath the cab. Kind of a manufacturing thing, but you just kind of wedge in along the sides of the cab on the bottom, pry it up a little bit so that it starts sliding up on both sides, and just kind of keep wiggling it. If that doesn't work, you got to keep prying a little bit. Make sure you get both sides unsnapped. Once that's done, it pretty much just slides right straight up. So there's a guide there that it sits in, and so don't try and bend it and stuff, you'll break it. And you can see we have a detailed cab interior. It's all gray. It's not really color coordinated there, but I'll probably paint that later. And you get that groove there. Just make sure, when you put it back together, you get it in the right spot. Pretty simple. So, as you can see on the light bleed on the cab, that little handrail hole is where my light bleed was coming up. And so I'm going to put some paint right in that area. Also probably covering up over the top of that hole will be not too bad either. That's probably the whole point. And probably put a little extra paint in the inside there as well. As you can see, there's that hole right there, and it didn't get covered. It should have done a better job of that. But this is how you fix it. So you take some electrical tape, and I'm going to put some on the back, cut off a couple little strips. It's about a 3/4 inch piece of electrical tape. And you just wedge it down in there. Make it fit, cover up that yellow. Keep the tape down inside the frame, not over the edge of the frame, otherwise the cap is not going to go back on, the radiator cap, that is. And just take your screwdriver and, you know, push it in there so it's nice and sticky and adhered, and then do the other side as well. You know, make sure you get the corners and any of those areas where the light could escape. So we're going to put the cap of the radiator cap back on, and it's a little tight, so you want to put that end in first. I kind of put on one edge and then kind of squeeze it together, and let's go test it out. And here it is in reverse, and you don't see any light bleed coming through the yellow paint, at least on that side anyway. On this side, you don't see any light coming through except from the tail light, and I call this one good. So break out some paint. I'm using this Tester's black paint and the finest, smallest screwdriver you can, or not screwdriver, paintbrush you can find. And I'm just going to put some paint in here on top of that hole, fill in underneath there a little bit, just in case there's any weak paint spots or something on the other side. And then, you know, make sure you don't paint that white little button there, because that's where your number board is. Now let's paint the chairs. I'm going to paint those black. Gotta have a steady hand. I mean, I'm steady, but I'm not that steady. There's a part where I kind of get some on the, right there. Get some right on the console, and I didn't want black paint on the console, but I got a little bit of smudge in there. It's not going to be noticeable too much. Just want to make sure the chairs are all black so that through the windows you can see that they're black, that they're different. They stand out a little bit more than the console, and that's really the whole point. Now I got both chairs done, and now I want to put some white paint on the console. I think this is supposed to represent some paperwork that's on the console or some computer screen or something. I have no idea. I don't have an example of the real interior of the AC6000. Then I'm going to put some red on the some buttons, and like a radio mic handle as well. Right there. You know, after I put this thing all back together, you couldn't really see the console anyway, and any of the paint that I put on it through the windows. Pretty difficult with the light on. It's pretty bright. Put some more paint on that little dot right there. And there you go. Now if I had some engineers, some figurines, I could paste them right in there in the seats, and the interior would be done. Now to put the cab back on. Remember, you got to put the cab back over that little notch there, where you can line up right. Slide it on carefully, and don't squeeze down on top of your handrails. Pop those out to the sides so they don't get pinched. And then on the front handrails, they kind of bend in underneath the cab, so you want to push those out, and with the other hand push down on the cab, and it should snap right in, just like that. And make sure it's pressed all the way down, and you know, you're still going to have that gap in the base of the locomotive, but you know, right there, you're just not going to have too much of a choice in the matter. So yeah, use a pair of tweezers, your finger, you know, something to put the handrails back in the holes so that they look right. And and do that on both sides. There, I can use my finger, a little bit easier, lined up real well. Push it in with something, and then put in your front handrails. And you may have to squeeze and drag one up a little bit just to make it fit in right and tight, but they will fit back in there. Well, it looks good. Got them all back together. Got the cab on. Let's go check it out on the layout. And as you can see, there's no light bleed. Well, because the headlights aren't on, and now they're on, still no light bleed. So I think we're going to call this one good.
Well, there you go, ManCavians. That's how you get into the inside of these and fix your light bleed problem. Just put a little piece of black electrical tape along the sides, cover up all those areas that look yellow, and make it all look black, and you shouldn't have any light bleed problems on the back. As you can see from the video, there wasn't any. On the front, just put a little bit of black paint, cover up those holes, and any of those other little areas that may be having a little bleeding problem. So that's all it is. I may have to get back in here and put a little bit more paint later on, but at least I know how to do it, and so do you. So until next time, ManCavians, happy model railroading. Stay off those tracks. Bye. So if you like what you saw here today, go ahead and click subscribe down here below, or follow my Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and my Instagram, links down here below in the comments. Also, click on one of my other links for videos as well. As always, ManCavians, happy model railroading. Stay off the tracks. Bye.